Li Qiang was born in July 1959 in rural Ruian, Zhejiang, and entered public life as a pump station technician before studying agricultural mechanization at what is now Zhejiang University. Rising through county and prefectural ranks, while Zhejiang's township and village enterprises were experimenting with mixed ownership, he internalized the principle that economic growth and institutional innovation advance in tandem. By the early 2000s, as party secretary of Wenzhou, he positioned the city's light manufacturing cluster as proof that a robust private sector could coexist with party oversight. He approved China's first municipal negative list for market entry, arguing that development would stall a century without entrepreneurial dynamism. When elevated to governor of Zhejiang in 2013, Li sliced more than 40% of provincial administrative approvals, rolled out the Characteristic Towns program to cluster startups in themed micro-incubators such as Dreamtown, and encouraged independent policy think tanks to grade government performance. An unusual tolerance for external scrutiny inside a one-party system. Transferred to Jiangsu and then to Shanghai, he oversaw the Tesla Gigafactory agreement that for the first time allowed a wholly foreign-owned vehicle plant in China loosen cross-border data flow rules inside Shanghai's free trade zone to attract fintech R&D and chair the 2018 World AI Conference, pitching the city as a sandbox for pricing industrial data alongside land and labor. Observers noted his readiness to grant operational space to entrepreneurs like Jack Ma while keeping them integrated into the party's strategic goals. Promoted to the Politburo Standing Committee in October 2022 and installed as premier in March 2023, Li inherited a state council whose authority had been partly absorbed by party commissions. He responded by redefining the cabinet as a macro coordinator and micro executor. The 2024 government work report set a 5% growth target, authorized a fiscal deficit equal to 3% of GDP, and issued 3.9 trillion yuan in special purpose bonds for infrastructure, while the People's Bank shifted to a corridor-based liquidity regime that guides the 7-day repo rate without balance sheet expansion. Implementation has relied on three technical levers. First, a counter-cyclical fiscal gear front-loads central bond issuance to backstop provinces whose land transfer revenue is eroding, paired with a swap facility that converts off-balance local government financing vehicle debt into longer-tenor municipal notes priced off the sovereign curve. Second, a prudent yet forceful monetary stance favors structural rel-lending quotas for green projects and small enterprise risk-sharing over broad rate cuts, limiting depreciation pressure on the renminbi. Third, an industrial policy matrix targets what Beijing calls new quality productive forces, super deductions on R&D spending, nationwide computing power zoning for large parameter models, and a unified electricity spot market that clears hourly prices to absorb renewables. The 2025 report added 550 billion yuan of central investment for fast-charging networks and imposed a cap-and-offset scheme whose allowances settle in real time through the Shanghai Environmental Exchanges API. On the diplomatic circuit, Li brands China as a mega-consumer market and mega-innovator, warning that supply chain de-risking should not drift into protectionism. At the 2025 Summer Davos, he endorsed an open, multipolar currency architecture and invited foreign firms to co-locate AI inference clusters in China's hydropower data parks in the West. Domestically, he tries to pair growth stabilization with deleveraging. Pilot cities in the Yangtze River Delta now integrate land use, energy, and emissions permits into a tokenized ledger to reveal productivity gains from environmental regulation. In the property sector, he installed a 1-2-3 red line toolkit, 1 month liquidity coverage, 2 tiers of debt service ratios, 3 duration buckets, forcing developers to disclose granular data before accessing policy bank lending, effectively grafting Basel-style discipline onto what had been an opaque shadow banking nexus. Early indicators suggest traction. By mid-2025, private fixed asset investment turned positive year-on-year after 7 quarters of contraction. High-tech manufacturing reached 16.5% of industrial output, and cross-border e-commerce grew 18% thanks to streamlined customs and expanded export credit insurance. These outcomes are linked to a state council situation room that feeds real-time electricity loads, port throughput, and VAT invoice data into dashboards, a methodology Li imported from the City Data Brain project he championed in Shanghai. Institutionally, he has converted the Premier's weekly executive meeting into a hybrid channel that routes agenda items through party policy briefs before cabinet debate, aligning fiscal disbursements with strategies set by the Central Financial and Central Science and Technology Commissions, chaired by Xi Jinping. In this architecture, the Premier functions as chief operating officer of a party-state enterprise. The chairman defines vision. The Premier drives key performance indicators across ministries, borrowing the no-excuse deadline culture he honed when Tesla's Shanghai plant went from groundbreaking to first vehicle in 12 months, now the national benchmark for accelerated approvals. Critics point to his stewardship of Shanghai's 2022 lockdown as evidence that his market instincts yield to party imperatives when required, and they question whether dashboards and policy sandboxes can manage structural risks such as demographic aging and municipal debt without deeper reforms. Admirers counter that his integrated toolkit of cloud dashboards, regulatory sandboxes, and performance contracts represents China's most sophisticated attempt yet to reconcile centralized political control with market-oriented innovation. Whatever the verdict, Li Qiang's tenure illustrates how micro-level engineering techniques can be scaled to guide macroeconomic steering at the intersection of algorithms, supply chains, and centralized authority.